Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can use and organize your Mac dock. So I'm using Mac OS 10.9. We're going to take a look at the dock here along the bottom of the screen. And there's a lot to see. If you go to the Apple menu, you can look at some of the basics for changing the dock. One of the things you want to pay attention to is hiding. You notice it's hidden now until I roll the cursor over the bottom of the screen. I can turn that off and then the dock is always visible. You can access these same controls by basically going to the middle here, a place where there's no icon, this middle bar, and control clicking or right clicking on it, and then you have the same options here. Magnification, when you turn that on, is this special effect here. So another option is you could turn on the different position for the dock. At the bottom is the default, but you can say have it on the left or the right as well. Typical to have it on the bottom though, and you also have access to more preferences here. You've got minimize using whether or not a Genie or scale effect when you minimize an item. Let's look at that. You open TextEdit and create a new document, and I want to minimize it. You can see that's the Genie effect there, and it comes back up. But if I turn on scale, you can see it's different, much quicker effect. And not as cool though. And then you can also access more dock preferences. So it'll take you to system preferences right here, and you can see some different things like the size of the icons, the size of the magnification if you're using that. You could also click here. You could see at this divider bar you have that up down arrow there. If you go down, it'll reduce in size. Up will increase it in size. Holding the option key will do it at regular intervals, so you can snap into the 100% there, or 75 or 50% in size. But it's what's inside the dock is most important. Of course, on the left side you're going to see almost all apps. So if you want to launch something like launching TextEdit, it's just as simple as clicking on that app. You see a light appear underneath it, meaning it's running. If I were to run another app, let's run Notes, then you'll notice lights under both of these, and you can actually switch between apps by clicking on them down here in the dock. It's one of the many ways you can switch apps. You can also control click, hold the control key down and click, and you get a variety of different things, like for instance the windows that are open in that app. You have options like be able to show in Finder, different things like that, and you can quit the app that way as well, or hide it. So that's a way we can quit Notes there. We can quit TextEdit there, as well as the standard way that you quit those apps. Now if you want to add an app to the dock, it's very easy. Just open up a new Finder window, go to Applications, and find the app that you want to add to the dock. So let's say we want to add Pixelmator, and we'll find that right here, and we just drag it from the Finder into the dock just like that, and it appears there. If we ever want to remove this from the dock, it's pretty easy. We drag up and away, and we wait. It takes about a second to avoid accidentally doing it, and you drop it away, and now it's gone from the dock. It's still in the Applications folder. These are just shortcuts, aliases if you will, to the apps themselves. The apps aren't really here. They're in the Applications folder. This is a shortcut to be able to run them without having to go to the Applications folder and double click them. Now on the right side of the dock, to the right of this divider bar here, there are different things. There can be files and folders. So I've got a few folders in here already. For instance, there's my document folder. I can click on it and get quick access to the items in that folder. And the way you add folders to this is the same way. You can go to say your documents folder here, and I've got my videos. I can drag and drop that into the right side and add it in there. And the same thing for deleting them. If I want to remove this folder from it, I can pull it up and away and then drop it, and it would disappear. Now once you have a folder here, there's many different ways you can view it. If I click on it, you can see it springs up like this. If I control click on it, I've got options, and I could show it to display in several ways. A stack will actually display the items inside, whereas a folder will display it as plain folder. There's a plain folder there, just like you see in the Finder, and a stack will display what's in there, which is a bunch of different folders. It's more prominent here in Applications, where a stack actually you can kind of see a folder, and then there's an icon showing up behind it. If I change it to folder, you see the Applications folder. In addition, you also have how the content is viewed. So a fan is what you see when you do this. And if you want to see more than just these few items, I can click on that arrow there and it opens up the folder. If I change that to a grid, then I get this, which will display more items. And if I change it to a list, even more items, plus you have these arrows here so I can dig down into folders and as far down as I want actually. So that's kind of handy. And you can also set it to automatic, which will basically use different types depending upon how much stuff you have in each one of these. And you can also set the sort, so I can do it as a list here and I could see it as a list like that, and I could set it to control click on it and say I want to sort by date modified, for instance. So you can put a folder that you commonly access, set it to sort by date modified so you can see the most recent items in that folder there. You can also drag files here. So if there's a file you access all the time, like for instance maybe there's a document that you update on a constant basis, then you could stick it in there, and you can see how quick it is to stick it in there temporarily. Use it maybe for a few days like that, and if you're not going to use it much anymore, just remove it from here. Again, these are links, just shortcuts or aliases to the actual item. They're not the item itself. So a few more things about the dock. The last item on the right is always the trash, and this is where you could throw away files if you want. I mean, of course you can select and command delete to throw it into the trash, or use a menu item here to throw an item into the trash. But you could also drag and drop to the trash can there, and as such you can control click on trash for quick access to empty trash. You have the same thing in the Finder here, empty trash. So you've got that. You also can see items in the dock that you haven't put there, particularly applications that you're running. So for instance, I'm going to search for and launch Pixelmator here, and when I launch it you can see it adds itself to the dock to the very right side. All of these apps are things that I want in the dock and I've placed there, or they were there by default. Pixelmator is added here at the end because it's currently running, but if I were to quit it, it would go away. So let's quit it now, and it's going to disappear from the dock just like that. Now if I wanted to, what I could do is add it to the dock by control clicking on it and saying under options keep in dock, or I could simply drag it from the right side here into the left, and if I drag it here into the left and then I quit Pixelmator, it will remain because it automatically knows that since I've positioned it in the dock that it's something that I want to keep in the dock.